Hey, it's Carly. Welcome back. This evening, we've just put the kids to bed, and I have my Ghirardelli dark chocolate peppermint bark because 'tis the season. And I just wanted to sit here and tell you about some things that we've done in the last couple of days that is going to get us started on our spring garden. So just wanted to share a couple of clips with you to show you what we've been doing, and so you can check it out and talk it through with me. I would love, as I talk through the steps that we took to prep the spring garden, if you could share in the comments things that you've done in the past when you have started a new garden space. I would really love to know what methods you used, if you use any of these methods, or if you did a shorter, faster way of prepping your garden, and especially how it turned out. I would love to hear about your soil quality after doing these things and things like that, what zone you're in. I would really love to know. So maybe we can do something differently in the next season. But to get us started for the spring, we did a couple things. So on Wednesday, which was actually my birthday, we were able to borrow from a very sweet neighbor a rotary tiller attachment for our tractor. And our tractor is a 1951 Ferguson that we actually inherited with the house purchase last year. So it's been very nice being able to have it. And it's actually the very first task that we've had the tractor do. So far, it's just been for joyrides. But on birthday, we ended up mapping out the garden space, and we're putting it right where the 3 beds were from this year. When all is said and done, the new space I mapped out, not including the 3 garden beds that already existed, it's about 1,000 square feet. And I'll definitely be going over more of my plans for the garden and how I want it to look in the spring. And we'll be doing lots and lots of work making beds and trellises and gates and fences and things like that. But that will definitely not be until it gets a little warmer next year in the springtime. But what we started doing after mapping out the space is I mapped out where I wanted roughly the beds to be. And they're going to roughly be about 4 feet across and either 12 to 13 feet long. And in this space, I can comfortably fit 6 of those beds with a little bit of room to spare. So that's what we're starting with for the next year. Obviously, we will carve out a lot more as time goes on and where we see that we have space, but that's roughly my plan. So we use the tractor to till up the whole rectangle of space that we mapped out, and we just kind of tried to smooth things over. And then we got out all of the cardboard that we had been saving for this project. So saved as much cardboard as possibly could, took off tape, took off labels, all the things like that. You don't want too much ink on them. Made sure they hadn't been used for prior things like paint projects and things like that. And I mostly just concentrated on the areas that I wanted the garden beds to be. That's where we focused most attention. I know it's also good to have cardboard over walkways so that weeds don't grow there as well, but I just didn't have enough cardboard for that. So I wanted to concentrate it on the actual garden beds because I'd rather weeds not grow in with the vegetables. And I don't mind if they grow along my walkways, but we'll address that at a later time. So I'm putting out as much cardboard as I can, laying it roughly in that 4 by 12 area. And I'm doing that in all 6 spots. Then I got out our bags of compost. Now, I know when you're doing basically the no-till method, you're supposed to put a good 3 to 4, even more inches of compost on top of the cardboard. So we're not really doing the no-till method. I was just trying to do things to, number one, suppress the weeds, And number two, try to amend my soil and make it a little richer to give it a head start for next year's planting. And just try to make it healthier than it was. So I don't have a lot of compost here. I have basically about 1 bag per bed, which was hard. I mean, it's a centimeter layer of compost, but still, I, as you will learn over time, I am a very a little bit is good enough type person. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm more of a any little bit is better than nothing kind of theory. So I figured I'll sprinkle some compost on. It's better than what was there before. It's better than nothing at all. Super opposite of my husband. He's a very, if you're going to do it right the first time kind of person. But that just makes it fun in our house. But I poured bags of compost on each of the spots where the cardboard was and just tried to spread it out a bit and just try to give the soil a little head start with some nutrients while it's hanging out over the winter. After watering in the compost, I actually needed to head inside to start prepping some food for Thanksgiving the next day. So the next clip you'll see is of about 2 days later. So the day after Thanksgiving, we were able to start this project again. And some things happened since then. We get an incredible amount of wind up on the hill that we live on. So basically half of this cardboard had flown down the hill and I had to chase and get all of the pieces and put them back together again. So spent a good amount of time piecing the cardboard back together again. Also, that meant that the compost shifted, so I had to re-spread the compost out. But that's what you get for having a couple days in between doing a project. So what I've done next after getting the cardboard and the compost re-watered is that I've gathered as much leaf matter as I could from around the property, and I started dumping that on top of the beds as well, just as an added layer of good nutritious matter for the soil that's going to break down over the winter and just give it more nutrients and more of that compost head start that I was talking about. So I gathered the leaves, I spread them out over the beds, and after doing that on all 6 of those, that's when we got out the garden plastic sheeting. So we got this plastic sheeting, and this is basically going back to the wind conversation. It's so that everything we've done here will stay in place over the winter, because the winter is when the wind in our area really picks up and it just absolutely whips through our property, and it is loud and it is very, very rough. So this will all go flying and it will all have been for naught if we didn't try to cover it somehow. So cardboard, the compost, the leaves, they would all go flying by the next day if we didn't put some kind of tarp over it. So what we're doing here is we're spreading the tarp over the rectangle area that we had tilled up, and we're using these stakes to put over it, and just putting the stakes every couple feet or so around the whole edge to keep it nailed down. We had to break that into 3 sections. So we overlapped each section by about a foot just so that it would be sealed up pretty good at the seams. And then because of the wind, again, we felt like we needed even more protection and that those stakes were probably going to come out over time. So some additional things that we ended up doing was duct taping all of the seams, which I'm really, really glad we did, because the last thing we want in midwinter is to see this flying down the hill and it all be for nothing. So duct tape all the seams, which we feel really good about. And then we gathered as much random wood pieces that we could find just for an added heaviness, and we put that all over the edge of the tarp as well as in the middle, just to weigh it down as much as possible, because we really don't want this flying away. So that is what we've done so far to get the area prepped. And because it's winter, it's going to take a little longer for this vegetation to grow and then die out. Basically, the concept here, normally you would only just need the cardboard for this, but like I said, because we don't want it to blow away, we've used the tarp method too. But it's basically so the sun will heat up the seeds, basically grass seeds and weed seeds, underneath this area, and the moisture trapped in there also will help it grow. But then it's going to be smothered so that it no longer grows there. So come spring, this area should hopefully all be weed free. And when we put our garden beds in, that's not something that we're going to have to worry about too much, and nor for the walkway areas as well. So the reason that we weren't too particular, and we didn't do, perfectly straight lines for the beds as well, is because this area is actually on a slope. So there's going to be some specific adjusting for each bed in order to make it a flat surface area. So there's definitely going to be more compost added, more soil added to get things level, and each one's going to have to be its own height. And all the wood's going to have to be cut to very specific, unique sizes for each bed. So that's what we're going to be doing in the spring. But for now, just getting the land ready is all we can do. So again, please let me know what you've done to prep your gardens in the past. I would love to hear how they turned out and what methods you use. So please leave me a comment. And we have so much to look forward to coming up. I'm trying to map out the next year best I can to make sure that I don't miss any important timelines, like getting brooders ready for chickens and getting seeds started indoors and things like that I've never done before. So there's a lot coming up, lots of chicken content, lots of garden content. We're gonna still try to learn how to cook new nutritious things, and just lots of fun things along the way. And I'm so happy that you're joining along on this adventure with me, and I would love all the advice that I could possibly take as we learn these new skills and trying to become a homestead. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.